Business impact analysis and risk assessment. One of the questions I'm often asked is what comes first, a BI or RA? There are two schools of thought, and both of them are equally correct. I subscribe to the school of thought that says do a BI first and then a RA. The reasoning goes on these lines. Based on a BI, I am able to identify and prioritize the critical business processes. Having done that, I select those few critical business processes and conduct a risk assessment for them. Thereby, I am focusing and concentrating my limited resources on what matters most. The reasoning can be further extended to saying that if I were to do a risk assessment for the critical business processes, it would also overlap with the risk assessment for the other processes. Now, what actually happens in risk assessment is I carry out two kinds of risk assessment. The one is a site outage risk assessment, and the other is an asset level risk assessment. Based on the BIA, I have the critical business processes. Based on the process dependency mapping, I know the inflows and the outflows, or the recipients and the contributors for each business process, thereby creating a business process value chain. And based on the business process dependency analysis, I know the IT infrastructure and the non-IT infrastructure that is running the entire business process. What the question I asked is, what would happen that would make the business process fail? So if a business process is dependent on an enabling IT application, what would happen to make that IT application fail? The IT application is hosted on a server. What would make the server fail? The server is located at a data center. So what could happen at a data center that could make the server fail, that could make the application unavailable, that would make the business process fail? So the 5 whys. Why? Why would it fail? Why would it fail? And I would get to the root cause. So having identified that the data center is at the root, the questions that I ask is, what would make the data center fail? In this, we have, this is the site outage, and in the site outage risk assessment, I have to identify the risks that would make the site unavailable. So it could be the natural hazards. Natural hazards could be, this is in the flood zone. It could be on the fault line. It could be in a hilly area and landslide is an option. Or it could be next to woods and forest fires is an option. These are the natural hazards. Other natural hazards could be, it is in an area where twisters, where tornadoes are common, or where hurricanes are possible. That was also under natural hazards. Under the man-made hazards, why there could be a site outage could be that it is located near to an airport, it is located near to a pharmaceutical company or a chemical manufacturing company that makes hazardous chemicals, or it is located near a nuclear reactor. It's possible that the data center is in the same building that also has a restaurant where a lot of cooking is done. It's possible it's next to a rail track. A train could get derailed. In many of these cases, it is not possible for the organization to move its data center having once installed it. But what could be done is we can take precautions to ensure that the probability of an incident happening is the least. And if an incident does happen, we have the disaster recovery plans to recover our organization. This is at the site level risk assessment. At an asset level risk assessment, I draw upon the business process dependency analysis, wherein I had the business process supported by the IT applications, supported by the IT infrastructure. And then I identify each physical IT infrastructure and ask a question as to why would it fail. Maybe it would fail because there is no power supply. So do I have a redundant power supply? I do not have a separate power line, but I have a backup generator. And how long would the backup generator enable me to function? It's for 16 hours. What happens after 16 hours? I run out of the gas. So do I have a contract with a vendor who could provide me gas before I run out of the 16 hours of fuel? If I have a network provider, a network service provider, is it possible that it would fail? So what is happening is why an asset would fail is also correlated with a service. So at an asset level, I need to find out as to what does the asset do, and if it is related to a service, a failure in the service could cause the asset to fail. Duplication of assets or redundancy of assets is an aspect of IT service management, and typically most organizations would have an IT availability plan wherein they would have identified the single points of failure for the various IT assets and what measures do they have in place to ensure that the system is available, let's say 99.99% of the time. In case of business continuity management system, we look at the asset from the service point of view as to what makes this asset run, what service enables it to run, and then focus on those services and try to build redundancy in that. Service risk assessment is also a part of IT service management, but in case of business continuity, this becomes more important. In this video, I've explained as to what comes first, BIA or RA. I explained the two types of risk assessment that are typically carried out. We have the site outage risk assessment based on the natural and man-made hazards, and then we have an asset service based risk assessment. There's a third kind of risk assessment which does not fall into a business continuity domain, which could be a logical risk assessment as to do I have a DMZ, are my systems, do they have open ports, can my systems be hacked, has a vulnerability assessment been carried out. They would typically come under the domain of information security risk management. Thank you for listening. Please be back.